everybody, this is Bill, the company's expert, and welcome to the very first episode ever of the Business Growth and Entrepreneur Podcast. And I want to thank you for joining me. This is going to be a really exciting journey, and I'm glad we're making it together. Also, you're at the very beginning, and this is sort of a little rough around the edges, but I hope you'll bear with me. Hopefully, you are interested in business. Either you're interested in a very general way, or you have the ambition of someday owning your own business or starting a company and changing the world, any of the above. Because I think that business is magical, absolutely magical. And I don't really get a chance to talk about that on my YouTube channels. My YouTube channels are mainly geared to how to get a job and trying to help people with that. And I've done some stuff in the past where I've talked about various business topics or I've talked about various startup topics. But my views tend to really drop off when I do that. And so I've kind of shied away from it, but I've finally decided, you know what? This is my passion and I'd like to talk about it. And if you're one of the few people that wants to join me on this journey, then all the more power to you. I do appreciate it. And hopefully we'll learn something together. So, like I was saying, I think business is absolutely magical. And I have done a lot of work with startup founders, people that found startup companies. I've also done a lot of work with SMEs, small business, basically, small and medium-sized enterprise. And not many people are aware of the differences between those two. You've got the startup world, and then you've got the small business world. And some people are passionate about one of those and not the other. And that's what I'd like to talk about today. Okay. Today, we're going to talk about startup ideas versus business ideas. I thought that would be a good place to start. So maybe you've heard the term startup. Startup usually refers to probably what you think about, what you conjure to your mind when you think about Silicon Valley and, these young billionaires, people that start tech companies, the Elon Musks and the Steve Jobses and the Bill Gates of the world. It's companies like that really are the crux of the startup world. And that's where I hate to use the jargon of the day, but the buzzword for startups is disruption, right? Where you come up with something new and different, and it's so new and it's so different and it's so amazing that it changes the way people work and operate virtually overnight. All of a sudden, this new thing is in, this new technology or this new, gadget of some kind. It's in and it changes everything. It makes certain things obsolete and it opens up completely new possibilities, ways of making money, ways of living your life. And this happens on a big scale. That's the startup world, and obviously, it's the dream for a lot of people. You want to change the world. It's very satisfying on a personal level. And you want to, make $1 billion, right? That's a startup world. And then on the other hand, you've got what's traditionally been referred to as small business. That's entrepreneurship. That's where, you're doing something that's, at least traditionally, it's considered less innovative. And you're just starting a business. And this could be the example I always use is the plumbing company. You're starting a plumbing company, right? Let's say you're a plumber and you know how to do plumbing. Well, you go into business for yourself, right? Now, immediately, it doesn't sound very glamorous, right? But it can be an amazing thing because, number one, first of all, you report only to yourself. And you are only bounded and restricted by yourself. You're not working at somebody else's behest. You're the one that's calling the shots for yourself. And you decide exactly what direction you go in. So this can be a very, very rewarding thing on a creative level. Okay. You get to be the master of your own destiny. And The great thing about what you would call the SME route, the small business route, is that you're delivering value to your customers. You're not creating something that is intangible, that has potential to change the world, and do things on large scales. You're actually making somebody's life better, somebody who's right in front of you that buys your product or buys your service, and you can see the effect you're having. You're not dealing with abstract millions of people on a piece of paper. You're dealing with human beings right in front of you where you're actually making a difference. You're serving them and they're appreciative of you, and it's rewarding. You get paid. This is your livelihood. And if you do a great job, then you get to make a lot of money. And the money is directly in proportion to how much value you deliver people, how much benefit you deliver them. So it's an incredible thing. And on top of that, you do have an impact in the world. And what can be an advantage is that you're not just talking about how you could change the world, you're actually changing the world. Maybe on a smaller scale, but you're still having a direct effect, and you can see the effect, and it's a wonderful thing. It certainly beats working for somebody else. I have horrible memories of working in career type jobs, and basically you're dealing with administration, you're dealing with inefficiency, you're dealing with absolutely pointless endeavors that are essentially a waste of your energy and completely unsatisfying on a personal level. And the thought of sort of having to go back into that world is abhorrent, So for people, that have a little bit of creativity, a little bit of initiative, this is an incredible thing to do. You can be the master of your own destiny, and you can feel satisfied on a creative level, and you can make a good livelihood in the process. So what more could you ask for? This is why I find business absolutely magical. Now, I'm trying to scale this, trying to sort of organize this topic and start out from a very high level is actually kind of hard. I'm more of a detail-oriented person myself. So sort of standing back and looking at the view from 30,000 feet, I found always a bit of a challenge, which is ironic because I've been a CEO of a company, and that's kind of what you have to do. You have to look at the big picture, and you have to look at things from a very high level view. You're looking at the entire business. You're looking at, time scales of 5 years or more out. And you're looking at, the economy as a whole and where the industry and where the market is going and all this kind of stuff. You're answering very big questions, But let's get down to this. It's incredible because I think the time that we're living right now in terms of just the internet alone and what you have there is absolutely incredible. It's absolutely incredible from the perspective of being able to start a business. I've said this several times on my videos and my other podcasts that thanks to things like social networking, it has been exponentially easier to reach a large number of people, and that's absolutely incredible, because if you want to broadcast yourself, you want to announce a product that you have to sell, or you want to announce a service that you have to offer. I mean, it's incredibly efficient. You can do that nowadays without spending a dime, just getting on your computer, and within 10 minutes, you can have your message in front of tens of thousands of people. It's absolutely incredible. And then on the flip side, to be able to do market research, to be able to learn what people like, what people want, what people place value on, and their opinions on things, that also has never been easier. It's absolutely incredible, the tools that we have at our disposal. And for that reason, I say it's never been easier to start a business than it is right now. Okay. If you know what you're doing, it's absolutely incredible how little restrictions there are upon you and your ability to make things happen. So if anyone out there is interested in having their own company, having their own business, making money by themselves, and masterminding a operation that you control, that you design, and it benefits you, it is absolutely incredible. The time is right now. And I know in the last couple of years, in 2020 and 2021, there's been some developments in the world. We're going through some interesting times. But, one thing about developments is that they always create opportunities. They mix things up a bit. And that's also going on right now. So there's a tremendous amount of opportunity out there for people that are interested in this. But it's like a skill. It's like anything else. If you want to be good at a sport, it takes a lot of work. It can be an absolute joy to do, but it's something that you have to prepare yourself for. You have to learn. And, some challenges are easier than others, and there's some easier challenges out there that people can do. Also, if you want to really set the bar very high for yourself, it's possible to do that, in which case it can be done. You can overcome these things, but you've really got to prepare for it. It's like saying, I want to go to the Olympics and win. It can be done, but it's going to take a hell of a lot of work, So it's incredible. Now, let's talk about some examples, okay? Because let's talk about startup ideas. That's something that I think a lot of people are interested in. Now, when I look at the world, okay, like a lot of people, your immediate impression might be that everything that can be invented has already been invented. I don't know what I could do. I don't see anything that's missing. I see everything that I could envision. It's already there, right? Well, it's funny because they had that very same attitude around 1890. Okay, 1890 was I think it's a very magical time, that period in time, because you got two things. First of all, number one, it was on the verge of the 20th century. And in the 20th century, everything changed. There was so much innovation, and that technological change drove so much social change. It was incredible. And the social change drove even more technological change, and it just kept going, right? Incredible amount of change, faster than at any other point in history. And also, in 1890, on the cusp of the 20th century, people also felt this arrogance that, everything that's already been invented surely has already been invented. There's nothing else. There's nowhere we could go. I think there was some famous quote by, I believe it was the person in the United States who ran I don't know if there was like a central patent office. They ran the patent office, whatever that was called at the time. And they went on record, and there's this quote attributed to them that said something to that effect. Our job is kind of obsolete because pretty much everything that can be invented has already been invented, right? Well, how wrong they were. People look back at that and laugh, right? Because it's so laughable, because immediately after they said that, everything changed, and they realized how much further there was to go, And so I like that, because the more you read about that, the more you learn about that period, you realize the same thing applies today. It seems like we already have everything, and anything you could possibly think of, there's already 5 people at least in the world working feverishly on developing that already, right? But the more you think about it, the more inefficiency you see. You see the more things that don't work very well, the more things that can be improved. And my God, so many things can be improved. There's so much room for people to come in and add to what we have already. Honestly, sometimes I wish I was 20, 30 years younger. It'd be such a magical time to be able to do some incredible stuff, And I really envy some of the young people today that they have this opportunity. They can come in and solve some of these problems. Some of them are incredibly complex, very hard problems, but a lot of them, honestly, are really not that hard. Okay. Especially problems on a sort of a local level, right? Now, let's talk about some ideas. One of the things that I've noticed right now is, like a lot of people, I'm kind of in a semi-lockdown type situation. There's a lot of fear of going outside, and, there's some consequences of doing that. And so I'm not the only one. And I kind of wish that there was somebody that could provide a service that would just drive around and pick stuff up for me. I honestly don't see anyone offering this. And I'm sure if there's enough listeners out there, this is my first episode, so I'm not expecting a ton of listeners, but I'm sure some people listening to this will say to me, well, of course there's services that provide that. Okay, granted, but I don't see any of them. I have this need for someone to do that. If somebody sent me a message and said, hey, I'm in your local, your city, and I have this service, and I go around, you order what you want from different places, and I just go around and pick it up for you, and I deliver it, and then I charge you a fee for my time and trouble. I'd be like, yeah, sure, do that. I have a big need for that, and I'm sure I'm not the only one right at the moment. There is a startup idea right now. You could do that in your neighborhood. You could do that in your hometown. You could do that in your region. And there would be a need for that. And even if it wasn't 2020 or 2021, this particular time with our particular co/vid problems, there are people that would value that service. People that, for whatever reason, they can't get out and about as freely as they would like, when they would like, and they would value that service. They would easily pay for it. There's a startup idea. I'm sure somebody could take that and run with it and get some traction. Another idea, not that I've sat back and thought about a bunch of ideas, but, I'm on YouTube, and it's hard to live in a complete box. I do see other YouTube channels, and I do see other things that are happening on YouTube. And, something that I don't know much about myself, which is the world of theater and the world of performance arts, or TV production. That's really not been my deal. I haven't had much involvement in that stuff in my life, but I'm aware of it. I know that a lot of people are into that stuff, and a lot of people like to write plays, put on plays, perform plays, things like this. With YouTube and other video related services, there's been a sort of surge in people learning how to do what essentially used to be TV production, video production. Every YouTuber, everybody who's got on YouTube or other things like TikTok and stuff, they've had to learn this. And so I've always wondered, it seems like there's so many talented people that do drama, lots of actors and lots of wannabe actors. There's lots of playwrights and lots of wannabe playwrights and screenwriters and TV production people. It seems like everyone and their brother on YouTube, offers their editing services for a small fee. There seems to be a lot of people that can do all those various pieces of putting together, a professional TV production. What used to be a TV production, now it's, an internet production. And I don't know about you guys, but just something that I've noticed in my life, and maybe I'm alone here, but I've been really disappointed with with what's been offered in terms of movies and TV shows and on things on the streaming services. It's very, very hit and miss. I think that a lot of stuff has, I really get the vibe, and maybe this is just me, and maybe I'm old, but I really get the vibe that there was more higher quality stuff available in the past. And that's not really saying much, because there wasn't really that much stuff back then. But I feel that in the last few years, it's really dried up. There's been some gems here and there, but, there's a lot of stuff that comes out, and it really doesn't hold my interest. Now, I could be alone here. It could be just me. But I suspect not. And with all the talent that's out there, I'm surprised that someone doesn't start some kind of movie studio or TV studio. Like, I've never seen an amateur sitcom on YouTube. I mean, maybe I'm just sheltered. I'm not, and they exist, but I'm just not realizing it or something. But like an actual good TV show. About 1 million years ago, they had a sitcom called Friends that I think most people are familiar with. It's like, I'd like to see someone do the equivalent of that on YouTube. Take all the talent that's out there, form a production company, and start producing some talented content. Not talking head type videos, not documentary type videos, not reality type videos, which is a lot of things like YouTube, but actual produced content, and I think that someone could really, really clean up if they did that. I think there's certainly a need for a lot of that. And there's already a platform to do it on, right? YouTube. I mean, there's other platforms too. But I mean, there's another idea right there. And this is I'm just thinking of needs in my daily life. I haven't really thought about this hard. I just jotted down a couple of very quick ideas like 2 minutes before I started recording this video. And these are things that, someone who has a little bit of organizational skills, someone who comes from that creative sort of artistic world, that's maybe on a local level, but they're also passionate about this stuff, but they also know business. I mean, tremendous opportunity for this. So I just wanted to throw that out there, no judgment in brainstorming. But the bottom line is that when you talk about startup ideas, it starts by thinking like what you do well. Is there some particular thing that you do either very well or that you're very passionate about? Some talent you have or some passion that you have, and it could be some seemingly, unimportant sort of thing that you just do as a matter of course every day. And if you add some basic business training to that and figure out a way to monetize it, you can be in business for yourself. In most cases, you have all the tools at your fingertips to at least get started without investing, without having to spend large amounts of money, on buying equipment and buying tools and things like this. Any business can get started using the tools that everybody has, at least I believe everybody who is listening to this podcast, which would be a phone or a desktop computer, or a laptop. That's kind of the only real tools you need. You have access to things like Google search engine. You have access to things like, Wikipedia. You have access to things like YouTube or Facebook or LinkedIn or Twitter, these ways of connecting to the world and then delivering a product to the world, selling a product online. Incredible tools there, So it really fires the imagination. And that's what I'd like to explore in future episodes of this podcast, where we're gonna be talking about business growth, right? We're going to be talking about business principles, but we're also going to be talking about, what people need to do to turn that into a reality. How do you test an idea? How do you go about making money? How do you monetize ideas? How do you make it manifest, make it a reality? You execute on an idea and produce something. Okay, so those are some of the things I'd like to cover in this podcast. So if you have any feedback, any questions or comments, what you'd like me to talk about, what you'd like me to explore, any questions you have, let me know. Leave a comment below this video, and I read all those, and we'll see where this goes. So thank you very much. I appreciate you joining me on this very, very first episode ever of the Business Growth and Entrepreneur Podcast. Thank you so much for your attention. You are awesome, and you have unlimited potential. Never let anybody persuade you otherwise. Thank you so much. Bye.